Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1303 of the Locked on Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Monday evening into Tuesday, and you are about to watch or listen to part 2 of 2 with myself and Brian Schroeder, NBA draft expert, friend of the podcast. So if you missed it, part 1 should be in your feed right now. This is part 2 you're about to hear. You're going to dive in the middle of the conversation, so it's best to go back to part 1 and start from the beginning. But keep that all in mind as you're listening to the podcast. Today's episodes, plural, I should say, we're talking about the NBA draft, 2022 a little bit at the top of part 1, and then 2023 stuff. Victor, Scoot Henderson, the depth of the class, some sleepers that Brian likes, some guys that might be a little bit overvalued at this point in time, an early look at the 2023 NBA draft, and a lot of fun talking to Brian. As always, please subscribe to the podcast. And after a first little break to hear from the intro of this show, we'll be back with myself and Brian in about 40 more minutes on the NBA draft.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
I have to ask you about Victor. So we'll come back to everybody else probably, but clearly, as you well know, I know you're not relying on this stuff, but I know you consume some of it. The discussion around Victor for the last year, maybe longer, has been pretty crazy. Just the fact that, and not in a bad way, just the fact that he is seen as the next big thing. This is a guy, by the way, people listening, he's 7'3", 7'4", legitimately. He's probably 7'4". That's insane for what, and he's got a perimeter skill set. He can shoot. His shot blocking is apparently absurd by all accounts. He's the one guy I've seen.
He's the best shot blocking prospect any of us have ever seen, I would say.
Yeah, so I mean,
way beyond what most, even like a Mowgli guy type, way beyond that.
Yeah, I mean, just the extra 6 inches of wingspan. Like he's so much bigger.
7'10" wingspan, yeah.
Yeah, he's so much bigger than Mobley and all that. So I guess it sounds like it's not fake hype on him, but like, is he like? This is the most broad way I can tell you. I can do to ask this question. Is he actually as good as people think he's going to be? Like, are you skeptical at all? Like, is it just somebody?
I mean,
we
he's
should
not
all be all in on.
The production level is not what he sounds like yet. It has been like at the U19s when he was 2.5 years younger than Chet Holmgren, and he dominated Chet Holmgren in the way that no huge guy centers ever shoved Chet Holmgren around. Really, Chet stays physical and plays.
That's like the one game, by the way, that like even like casual people managed to see because it got so much hype ahead of time. People are like, wait, if you're gonna watch one prospect game, watch this game. So I feel like everybody watched that one. Not everybody, but you know what I mean. Like everybody
in that whole tournament
watched that game.
I don't remember his exact per 36s, but they were like 28, 19, and 12 blocks. It was just like
pretty good.
Yeah, it was superhuman. But I mean, when he plays his that was like the last time he played his contemporaries, his peer group. And I say his peer group, he was 2 years younger than all those guys and could play in next year's under 19 if he wanted to. He'd still be under 19 technically, which is crazy that he was the best player in a tournament where he, in a age gap tournament, he could play another year. That's like how Cooper Flagg was the best guy in the under 18 tournament that just happened as a 15-year-old.
Which is and Victor's going to be 18 for how long? Much longer? Till like January.
January he turns 19. So if he was born a week earlier, he would have been in this last draft.
And would have gone number 1, I assume.
Would have gone number 1, no doubt. No, not in my mind.
So there you go. I mean that says it all right there. And so in some respects, like if he was in the class younger, he would have gone number 1 with no doubt in your mind. So not that it was the greatest number 1 draft in the world. Like those guys were all good.
That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. It wasn't like a huge. The thing with Victor is the numbers are not crazy. Like people who just do stat stuff don't like. He's interesting, but they're not like. The difference is he's playing as a center in the EuroLeague and in Eurobasket against like Edie Tavares, like guys who like 27, 28-year-olds.
Hawks legend, by the way.
So like he was still like pretty good. Like his last 6 weeks, he was good. He was like a good EuroLeague player. That doesn't happen very often. Luka did it. Pretty much it. Like Luka did it.
That worked out okay.
But there's been an army like Yannick Nzosa is a guy. Ibu Baji is a guy. There's been 3 or 4 James Nagy this year of like phenom centers who go to the EuroLeague and are bad. Like cannot get on the floor. Victor was still on the floor. He was fine. He did crazy stuff all the time. Foul issues, but I think every center has foul issues. That's like, talk to me when they're 25 and they're still doing it. That's fine. The thing with the shooting, his shooting numbers are like high 20s, low 30s. Thing is, he was going off screens. He's going around screens. He was shooting 30-footers. He was shooting pull-ups.
All of this is, I've seen him play a few times, so I've seen him play more than people have. But just, I want people to understand like what you're saying, what you're outlining. This is a guy who is essentially giant NBA center size, 7'3", 7'4", with 7'10" wingspan is enormous. And you just talked about him coming off of screens and shooting 30-foot threes. Like just the archetype alone is
that's why
I've seen it. And I've seen him play, but like it is just think about that in a vacuum. It's basically like, okay, I'm trying to think of who's as tall as he is in the league right now. Like
Boban.
I'm trying to think of like, is he the only guy? There's gotta be someone else that's that big.
Taco Fall. He's not in the league anymore.
No, yeah. So I mean, think about Ralph Sampson, but shooting from 28 feet. Like that's insanity. That doesn't happen. So I'm sorry to stop you, but like just the thought process. If you have not seen him play yet, if all you've seen is highlights, I get it. But like, if it works,
if all you've seen is highlights, he's the greatest basketball player of all time.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah. What you're describing could be the greatest basketball player of all time. Nobody's saying that he's going to be that, but if he's 7'4" and can shoot like that and block every shot,
and he's an awesome passer, he does like Larry Bird touch passes also.
Yeah, I mean, what are we even doing here at some point?
That's why he's going to be number one, because like it's literally like FOMO, like the FOMO on this guy. There's no team in the NBA that would pass up on like, what if this guy is that? You can't say that he's not. Like you can't. It's impossible to say that. He's shown the capability for it. Like.
I mean, I feel like one of the ways I was going to ask you, you should probably get to this answer, but like, what is the path for him not to go number one?
He loses a limb, or he has like microfracture surgery.
Okay, so we'll say no major injury. Is there any way he doesn't go number one?
Scoot has to be like the G League MVP.
It sounds like to me like what you talked about with Amen Thompson. Maybe he's the one that can do it. Just because of upside?
I just don't think teams trust an OTE,
No, I guess that makes sense. I mean, that's just a difficult. I mean, at least in the Ignite, like he's playing against pros all the time.
Yeah.
With regard to Scoop, but the thing is, Scoop's still a guard. He's still like a 6'2", 3 guard. Like he'd have to be so good, and the shooting would have to come alive. No, I'm not. By the way, that's not me crapping on OTE. By the way, I'm not anti OTE.
Well, they are. They're playing some pro teams pretty soon in Spain. They played in TBT, and the Thompsons both had like crazy athletic flashes. Watch that game. It's on ESPN if people want to watch. Get the idea of what these guys are, because they had some crazy. They're playing a team that was it Creighton? Yeah, it was a Creighton team, like a bunch of old Creighton players, and they were in that game. They lost at the end.
And they're all kids. I mean, this is like they're playing against 28-year-olds.
Yeah, it was 5 draft eligible guys, and then it was like Malcolm Thomas and a bunch of those kind of guys.
Well, and they're not that there's just like open for everybody to go see all the time, but they're in Atlanta, so like I'm close to the facility. I've been over there, and
they're playing a much better, higher competition. I mean, they played prep teams, like they played good high school teams. So it wasn't
they're still playing people. And that's honestly, I was going to ask you this too. I noticed this when we were talking earlier. The top 4, the top 4 guys on your board, all being non-college guys this year, is going to be interesting because it makes life difficult for people that don't watch non-college basketball.
There's a non-zero chance. I have him a little lower, but if Leonard Miller is what he showed flashes of, he could honestly go 5 because he's a 6'11".
I think you and I talked about him for 2022 on our when he was still in the. He pulled out obviously, but he was a deep kind of sleeperish guy that had some mojo pre-22 draft. Probably wasn't going to go in the first round, so he pulled out, and that makes sense. But he's the Ignite. But I guess that's a path too. I mean, it's just this is the first time that I can remember where literally the top 4 guys in this class might be non-college.
And it's not to say that the Thompsons are, I think, as they should. Like I think they are kind of volatile prospects. Although one thing for me that really makes me higher on both of them is they are both like genius level. I've seen enough interviews with them. I've seen them, their workouts and stuff. They're like that kind of freak, just like workout guys. Like they're
And
just
they're
going
a
to
little
have.
older. They're a little bit older too.
They're
Than
going to be
everybody else,
20.
right?
They're going to be 20 when the draft happens.
Kind of like Chet this year, who was like almost a year older than everybody else was at the top. Not that that's going to change too much, but it's notable.
Well,
They're
not he wasn't a year older than Keegan Murray. He was 2 years older than Keegan Murray.
The one and done, I should say.
Yeah. But yeah, I will say the thing with Wemby, there are injury concerns. Like he's 7'4". If he has like recurring foot issues, that's a problem. Right now, his injuries have all been
Sampson.
Yeah, his injuries to this point have all been contact injuries. Like he broke his finger, which the guy his hands are like this long. That can happen. He has like a muscle. It's his psoas muscle, which is like connects to your like glute through your back. He pulled it, so he's just not gonna play for a few weeks because they're just worried about it. He had a stress reaction in his leg, not even a fracture, just a stress reaction, which just means he got hit in his leg, and it looked weird. And then he had, I think, he banged his shoulder. So it's all like him getting bumped around, which is a concern. That's a lot. Like you don't want with big men. This is why the Chet thing is not. It's not really has nothing to do with his frame. He didn't have history of ligament injuries. If Wemby can come in without if he doesn't tear both of his Achilles, if they had those kind of injuries, those are the ones that for a big man are like a big red flag. If his knees come back like gravel,
that's great.
That's a concern. Yeah. Wemby doesn't have those injuries as far as we know. He's just getting like banged up because he's playing with 33-year-old men who are hitting him as hard as they can. And that, LaMelo had a few of those. That's why he stopped playing. He got clobbered. And like,
it happens.
It's concern. Like it's not like, he's not LeBron. He's not like 17-year-old LeBron James where he looked like the Terminator, but no one is. That's not going to happen. So people have this weird, like they fixate on whatever flaws a prospect has and use it as like Tari Easton's the best example. Like I don't know if you watched Summer League, he looked pretty good.
He did look quite good. I like Tari.
And not in the Summer League way where it was just like he was scoring over inferior competition. He was just physically dominating everybody. He just beat everybody up.
There is more with myself and Brian coming in a moment, but first, a word from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Are you one of the people who thinks it's okay to drive stoned? What's the worst that could happen? You end up driving below the speed limit. It's no big deal, right? Well, that's really wrong. The truth is your reaction times slow way down when you're high. You not only put yourself in danger, but everybody around you in danger as well. Talk about a buzzkill. Stop kidding yourself. It's not okay at all to drive high. If you're using marijuana in any form, do not get behind the wheel. Be careful as a result of that. If you feel different, you drive different. Drive high and get a DUI. I think it was the first game. Yeah, it was the first night, the doubleheader of the first night, because everybody's talking about Jabari and Tari Eason. I mean, he was the guy that I would have taken if the Hawks didn't take Griffin. He was the highest guy on my board other than Griffin when the Hawks were on clock. So I was already in on Eason anyway. But like he was just physically asserting himself from moment one in that game. He's just a very aggressive, physical, athletic player. I have so many things to ask you. I don't want to take too much of your time, but it is. So we covered Victor. Obviously, we'll get into that more often. You talked about the Thompsons and Scoot. Like that's, I'm not sure it's a consensus top four. I think Scoot's the guy people have mostly heard as the number one contender to Victor. The Thompsons, just because of, I think Overtime Elite is still kind of off the radar in a way that Ignite is not mainstream wise. That's just what it is. But people will definitely know about the Thompsons by then. As far as the guys going to college, do you have a contender to maybe jump into that top 2 or 3 at some point if they?
I said if Cam Whitmore is like a shooting off dribble and shooting mid high 30s from 3, I might have to put him up at 3 or 2 or 3 because like physically he's there's a highlight mix and I'll send it to you. When he was at the U18s where he was doing some of like Space Jam dunks. Like honestly,
it's so weird he's going to Villanova because Villanova is like built their whole program around guys that are not these one and done freaks. Like it's just weird that would happen. But I don't know.
If he,
of course, it's not Jay Wright anymore. So
if he's shooting off dribble, he's Dominique Wilkins. That's the kind of athlete he is.
That's
just like power athlete. Like if he gets 2 feet in the paint, he will dunk. You cannot stop it. Like you have to foul it. You have to put him down, and he's good luck. He's going to go blow through you because he just built like He's built like he's 6'6", 235, but he's built like an outside like Roquan Smith of like he doesn't look super big, but he's just like dense and powerful. Like I love Cam Whitmore. I'm a huge Cam Whitmore guy, and he's had an incredible summer. He was the MVP at the McDonald's game? He should have been. He was MVP at the Hoop Summit. He was MVP at FIBA. Everywhere he's gone, he's kicked people's asses. Like, he's just been dominating people. So if that guy is like a pull-up shooter, I think he's in there. People are gonna love Nick Smith because he is a true hooper and he's really awesome. And I think he could be a lead guard in the NBA. The athleticism is just low enough. Like, he's like a good athlete. He's got long arms. He's like a cool,
he's
funky.
6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah, so he's listed at 6'5", but I think he's like 6'4". He can really shoot, and he's like a really smart passer, and like can run on offense, and should be a really fun player. And so if he went like fourth, I wouldn't. Like, I think he has real like star guard potential. I just don't think you're going to take a guy like that over the kind of athletes that Scoot and Victor are, particularly.
I would definitely be watching Arkansas, by the way. Arkansas is not always a team that has tons of one and dones, but they have 3 or 4 guys that could be first runners.
Yeah.
So keep an eye on Arkansas in a way that you may not normally. I feel like just casual people might listen to this podcast, like always going to watch Duke. They always have guys. Kentucky's got guys always. They have Casey Wallace this time for Kentucky. Duke has Derek Whitehead. They have Derek Lively, etc.
Kyle Filipowski, who's really cool.
Kyle Filipowski. But there's some teams that you would not think, like we talked about Arkansas. Houston's got Jarris Walker.
Houston.
They have a one and done for the first time in this run.
They might have 2. They have Terrence Arsenault, who's like
he's really good too. I like him.
Wiry 6'6" athlete guy. Like, he's really fun.
I do like him.
Auburn and Baylor are going to have a couple guys. UCLA is going to have a couple guys. Kansas has Grady Dick. I think Kansas is a multi-year team. Like, Grady Dick, I'm not even sure if he's going to be one of them. He's talented enough to be. I just don't know if he will be.
South Carolina's got a guy, famously. We'll
see
if he's Gigi Jackson. Who was
Johan Traore at Auburn. I'm a big fan of. Like as an actual shooting 6'11" guy, like a real shooter.
So they're not like one of the reasons I ask, because they're not like all these guys are not consolidated into 2 teams like they sometimes sometimes are. It's pretty spread out, which is fun for people like us that like to watch basketball. But not going to be able to watch everybody at once necessarily. Do you have? I think we talked about most of this stuff already, but anybody that like is supposed to be a great prospect that you don't necessarily love? I'm not trying to be negative, but
I would say Lively is probably like Lively. I mean, Lively is 7'1". He's a good athlete. He can catch and dunk a lot of things. He's a good shot blocker. He can shoot threes a little bit. So I understand why he's like. I'm not saying he's not like a 5-star caliber prospect.
I think he was number 2 overall at.
But
RCI.
He's getting the Wiseman thing. I don't know who else to call it, or like the Harry Giles thing, where it's like, I think the Paul Biancardi's of the world and like all those guys are prognosticating him filling out more than he will. He may just be Willie Cauley-Stein, who can shoot, and like fine player. Like if Derek Lively's a top 10 pick, I won't think it's wrong.
Yeah, I
just don't know if he's that kind of dominant athlete at the 5. He's kind of more slinky than like explosive. He's a guy who's going to have, if you see his highlight mixes, there are a lot of him rolling with no one in the paint and dunking, and like, okay, like that's not super impressive. But I don't think he's a bad prospect or that he's like a bust or anything. I just think he's not. I don't think he's going to end up in the top 5, because I think NBA teams are going to figure out he can't really create for himself at all. He's he'd be a great guy like if Dallas had it. If Charlotte took him this year, where they took Mark Williams, I think he can be. I mean, he's definitely that level prospect, and I think Mark Williams is fine. I might like Duren more because like Duren is powerful.
I was going to ask you, they're not the same player, different physical skill set, like physical builds, but like he's the first guy I thought of as like, people. He was supposed to be. He was number 1 in the class at one point, and then fell to 13 in the draft.
And he was number 1 in this class. That's coming in college now.
That's right. He reclassed.
Yeah.
But he, went to Memphis in a weird situation and was kind of like, "Are we sure this guy's this good?" And obviously, I think he is going to be a pretty good player. But at the same time, some of the hype
Well,
on Duran was a
thankfully,
little bit.
yeah, Duran lost hype, which was unfortunate because from January on, he was probably the best defensive player in college basketball.
Yeah, he played great. I mean,
He
honestly,
killed
Memphis
people. Yeah,
and Memphis was a terrible situation for him and all that stuff.
yeah,
But no, it's just interesting because but early, this like dating back to like September of last year, it was like, can Duran go number one? It's like, well,
yeah,
probably not.
yeah.
Just because like he's a center, and that's okay. There's a lot of things to like about what he does, but at the same, he's just he's a role man.
Oh, I have one/two other guys who I think. Again, I think they are prospects, and I think they are deserving of being major like high school class guys. But I'm not sure the one is currently a good basketball player. That's Baba Miller and Brandon Miller, which these guys are 6'8" and 6'11" and have like ball skill and look like pretty fun, rangy defenders. So like they will almost. I mean, again, they'll probably both be drafted, and I think they will deserve it. But I'm not sure the one's like an elite. Brandon Miller's a classic. Like he's a point guard because he does cool passes and like can run a basic pick and roll, but like he's not going to be able to get downhill even against college defenders. He is a 3-4. Like at best, he's like a Herb Jones level passer. But yeah, he's just kind of thin, is like good, but not like dominant athlete and can't really shoot and is kind of old. So like Brandon Miller, I'm not crazy about. I don't think he's a bad prospect by any means. Like I will watch him. I think he probably will get drafted. And Baba Miller is just like a deer, like a baby deer. This guy just doesn't know what he's doing. But he's 6'11", like he's legit 6'11", and he's playing at Florida State, so probably be good. But right now,
like a Florida State guy to me.
Right now, I don't think I'd take him top 20. Maybe in some drafts, but not this one.
Florida State just kind of does that. Okay, who is? I have a couple more questions for you. Who is the best returning college prospect that did not leave? So has played a year of college or more in this draft.
It's tough. Guy? There's two choices, but I actually have 4, maybe 5. I'll mention real quick. I'm going to write about these guys too. I am doing it now. I'm just not done with it. For the top spot, it's either to Quavion Smith for me or Arthur Kaluma from Creighton.
It was a mild surprise, by the way, that Smith did not stay in the draft because he might have gone in the first round last year.
I think he probably would have.
Yeah,
he's just an awesome shooter. Like he's just an awesome, like pockets. Just one of those guys who will get off. You blink and he has 25 because he just shoots. Crazy usage guy, super crafty. I mean, he's not even like Bones Highland level crafty. Like he's not going to be an inside the arc scorer, but it's not hard at all to see him and think of a former NC State recruit, Anthony Simons, which is like that kind of like good athlete who just will drop bombs on people. That's useful in the NBA. Like every team can use that guy in the playoffs. So Turk, I think if he can show that he can be like a guy who really runs the offense, who like has the timing, I think he can be a lottery pick. And then Arthur Kaluma is awesome. He's like he's not a super athlete, but he's a little bit like the Siakam mold, and it's the worst draft comp you can use, but he just kind of scores at goofy angles and has like a weird kind of flat shot, but it goes in a lot. And just a guy who has like skill level for that 6'8", 220 guy doesn't always have. And I think if he puts that together at Creighton this year and becomes like their main scorer, I think he's a lottery guy.
Also, Creighton's going to be good, like very
Creighton's
good.
Creighton's going to be very good, yeah.
Which is
Ryan Kalkbrenner is like a good backup center type. Ryan Nembhard is a good like jitterbug guard. Baylor Shireman transferred there and is an awesome shooter. He's a lefty, so I like him. And then they've always got Creighton's always got like 7 other guys who are just good. If they have a good coach, that's a second weekend team for sure.
Yep, I like them.
And then my other 2 guys I want to mention because nobody else really does. Although it's starting to come up. I mean, I'm a big Deron Holmes fan from Dayton. He's just like a 6'9" center who does dunks, but he just doesn't really. He's really cool at them.
Sounds like another Dayton center of recent vintage. Oh wait, that guy won the top 10. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, no, Deron doesn't like shoot ever.
No, I'm just kidding. I was a little bit lower on Obi. That's all. I was just making fun of him. That's okay. He's good. Obi's good, by the way. Only clear. Obi can play.
Yeah. And Deron is like I just don't know if the NBA is going to be super interested in him of being like Dan Gafford. Like, Dan Gafford's taller.
Daniel Gafford.
Those guys are good. Those guys are useful.
If you knew what he was going to be, he would have gone in the top 20 of the draft, 15 of the draft. Like he's a
Duran is one of those guys whose synergy profile is like around the rim, excellent. In the paint, excellent. In transition, excellent. Like he's just super efficient, dunks everything he touches. Pretty good shot blocker for like being a smaller guy, kind of thin, really nimble. Can kind of pass a little bit, and I think if he could shoot like 16 footers, I think he's going to be a first rounder or top 45. And then my other two guys, my two sons, my two beloved boys, weirdly enough played the same school, and it was a bad team, Pepperdine. But I love Maxwell Lewis is a 3-block, 3-steal, crazy transition guy.
Wait, you have two Pepperdine guys in your top 5
50.
or 6 returning? Oh my God, this is incredible.
I don't know if they're my, but these are guys I love.
This is why I have you on the podcast, Brian, right here. To give me 2 Pepperdine guys in August that you think are the top 50.
Maxwell Lewis.
And you're probably right, because this is what happens.
Maxwell Lewis, I think worst case is like it's like a trying again on Pat McCall. Just like this weird, rangy, long-limbed 6'7" guy who just flies around on defense. Awesome athlete. If he can shoot it all, he's going to be good. Just like does Devin Vassell style, like just does lots of little things on defense, chips in. He could end up not getting any uses at all and not even being a prospect, but I'm just a big fan of him. And then his teammate, Houston Mallett, is per minute one of the best shooters in college basketball. 6'5", comes around screens like crazy. I'm going to look up his exact numbers because he was taking like 17 threes per 100 possessions and was like a 44% shooter. For most of the year.
While we were talking, I'll be 100% transparent. I don't know anything about Houston Mallett, but while we were talking, I pulled your board out and I saw 6'5", and I was like, this guy has to be a shooter. There's no way he's at Pepperdine and is 6'5", is on this list. He was not a shooter. And I was just like,
52% 3-point rate and shot 38%. And shot 38% on like real attempts. Like this guy's not shooting corner threes. This guy's coming around screens. They were running flares for him. Like I think he can really shoot. And that kind of guy will always, if you're 6'5", if you're Landry Shamet sized or taller, or like Tevin Brown this year, you will get a shot. Like
might have to go on a trip to scout in Malibu to Pepperdine guys.
Yeah, I mean they were a bad team, but neither of those guys played that much. And they're really starting to find a lot of like Kessler Edwards is a good prospect there. They had Colby Ross. He's not really a prospect, but he was cool. They're starting to really build, I think, some actual prospect equity there. Like they're starting to find guys. Now, neither one of those guys could have been drafted, but I just think they both showed up a lot when I did a lot of threshold stuff, and they're both like youngish.
Yeah,
and I think Lewis has a 7'1" wingspan or so, and so I think those guys are both. I really like both of them as like guy who's going to sneak in Jalen Williams style of just like nobody's seen them, but they get in workouts and do crazy stuff. And I have to mention Alex Fudge, my beloved, possibly the worst offensive player in college basketball, but he blocks. They didn't give him the ball. He only scored on dump offs and like transition runouts, and he committed a lot of offensive fouls.
I'm excited to see Florida coached by someone else.
Yeah,
see what it looks
that's gonna be fun. Yeah. And then you got like Strothers in there. I mean, Pete Nance. I have to mention Pete Nance, the beloved Pete Nance,
who is now at UNC and
UNC.
By the way, brother of Larry, correct?
Larry. Yeah.
And I've always kind of liked Pete Nance, and I think that him playing next to Baycott is interesting. It's kind of crazy if you're a college basketball fan because like every single one of like everybody's consensus All-Americans is these guys who are not huge prospects.
Shibwe,
like Timmy, Baycott, Hunter Dickinson, Marcus Sasser is like a prospect-ish, but like
I like Marcus Sasser.
I do too, but like he's not supposed to be like a top 20 pick or anything.
He's like a 6'1" on athletic pull-up shooter. So
I mean, Caleb Love is like one of the more famous players in college basketball, and like just because of last year's run, I'm just saying there's like so many guys that are like not prospects, not huge. He may still get drafted. Famous.
He may still get drafted. Caleb Love. I think most draft people are just tired of him at this point. Like, just play well for 2 games in a row, please.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was in that. I was at the Final Four, and it was like minute to minute, you didn't know what you're going to get. From Caleb Love.
Sometimes he looks like Damian Lillard, and sometimes he looks like Ricky Lito. Like there's no. Like he needs to stop. I'm tired of seeing Caleb Love for a while.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy, but no, it's just really funny. Like just the state of, and this is a whole different podcast, but like the whole, with NIL and everything, like guys should come back. Like your Timmy, like Timmy is making the right financial decision to play college basketball again. He's making a lot of money, as is Baycott, as is Dickinson, all those guys. It's just really interesting because, like, especially if you're a traditional big, like, why wouldn't you come back and just play forever and make $1 million every year? So I mean,
and I think that's part of the byproduct of a lot of the guys like Peyton Watson types leaving, like not coming back.
And Peyton Watson was like, he's a prospect. He was a terrible college basketball player, like terrible.
Oh yeah,
like,
he was awful. Good basketball. But I think he's going to be the biggest. Like I've said this several times. The 2022 draft was the COVID draft. Those are the guys who got hit most because they lost their junior or senior years of high school.
Right. Agreed.
Which kills you. It kills your development. So any of them being good at all, like let's say a guy playing in the ACC and being like a top 10 BPM guy and shooting mid-40s from three for an entire season as an 18-year-old freshman should get you some attention. You should be a real prospect. Thankfully, I don't know anyone like that. I did want to say real quick, the fun thing with Pete Nance, it's not just fun seeing him play with Baycott, it's fun seeing him play with other Division I caliber college basketball players.
If you don't know this, he was at Northwestern previously, so that was. And
he turned from like I kind of described Deron Holmes as like a twitchy, just dunks guy, to suddenly he's like a 22 assist percentage guy, shooting threes, handling an absurd load offensively at Northwestern. The only good player on the entire team, taking 25 shots a game and like was efficient and good. So. I love Pete Nance. I'm a big Pete Nance fan. He's one of the best spoonerisms of all time. He's a very good college basketball player. I think he should get a shot to be his brother, but with better shooting. To be his what if his brother was Bobby Portis? I think is the poll for the Pete Nance pitch. So I would draft that player.
I dig that for sure. All right, I have to ask you contractually one more thing, and we'll save it for the very end of the podcast because it's not 2023 related. Is Brony a prospect?
Yeah. Yes. No, he's good.
That's the correct answer. I'm kind of joking that I had to ask that because I don't really have to ask that, but I feel like there was like a week in August where that's like all anyone talked about was Brony. I'm like, he's still a year away from
overrated. He could. The thing is, he could be in this draft if he wanted to. He'll be 19 next year.
Wait, he can declare for the draft?
I think he'd have to graduate. I think he'd have to graduate high school now.
Right now. Okay.
Yeah, I think maybe he is. I don't know, but he could declare for. He could just. No, I think he's gonna go to college. Well,
no, I'm kind of trolling you because there was a time. I don't know how you felt about him. There was a time when it was like people were like, "We're not sure Bronny's a guy at all," and now it's like now it's like Bronny's good, and everyone agrees Bronny's good. It's just like how good is he? Is the question because like there's this whole everybody's doing the math on him being a one and done and playing with LeBron. It's like, is he a one and done? We'll see.
He will be. He will be. It doesn't matter.
Well, agree. Well, that's the thing. Like we all know that because of the dynamics in play, unless he just has a disastrous
October 2004 birthday. So yeah, he could be in this 2023 draft if he wanted.
Yeah, I'm reminded as we were talking earlier. This is the first class where like multiple, like lots of guys were not born when I graduated high school, and I am officially old. So that's something that I have to sort of wrestle with.
Bronny, I've been talking about Bronny with people, and I've made a Caruso comp. Other people have made a DeAnthony Melton comp. That's the kind of player he is right now. Kind of an off guard, Beverly maybe a little bit, where he's not a guy who really breaks down defenses, but he's a good passer. Just for like a smart, strong defender. Can shoot sometimes, and sometimes he can't. Like right now, I think I'd probably draft him. Like just based on talent, I'd probably draft him in the late first, early second. Just give him a shot.
There you go.
Like he's smart, but he's gonna be drafted higher than he should be.
No, I trust you more than most people. Really more than almost everyone. But so at least I had to kind of ask it at the end of the podcast.
Bryce is taller than him right now.
I did see that. I have not been watching either one of them recently, but
I don't think I've seen Bryce once. I don't watch players when they're. I don't watch 13, 14-year-olds.
No, it's too early. You get into situations where you can overrate guys and have that stick in your head and all that stuff too. So,
Imani Bates.
That is a prime example. Is he going to play basketball this year? I know he's at Eastern Michigan. Is he going to play?
Don't know. Yeah, I don't know. At this point, I just want the guy to give him. Like he should get to play somewhere. Like he's not I don't think he's that bad. He just
No, this is one of those things where, like, by all accounts, there's some weird family stuff. Like his dad's involved, and I just wanted him to go somewhere like where he could just be on a team and like not be the guy. And of course, he went to Eastern Michigan, where that's not going to be the case. So that's I was hoping he would go to like a real program somewhere that would be able to coach him and not have his dad.
He should have gone to Central. He should have gone to Central. He should have said fire up Chips and gone to Central Michigan.
Fire up Chips. My dad and mom are both Central Michigan alumni. So, little known fact about me.
So is Chris Kaman.
Shout out to Chris Kaman. No, I guess I think you probably said everybody that you wanted to say, but if you have not said anyone that you wanted to mention that you were like, go ahead and do that.
Let me make sure.
Probably have.
I could talk about plenty of other guys, but yeah. As I mentioned, Leonard Miller. Oh, JJ Starling, my friend.
I feel like you made your mark really above all by calling Amen Thompson your favorite prospect of all time. That kind of blew me away. I almost fell out of my chair when you said that.
Just aesthetically, so, I just love. I know everything. He is every my player I've ever made. 6'5" to 6'7", long arms, cool hair. Does not shoot threes ever. Only does cool wraparound passes and has like a 99 layup package. Every my player I've ever made is Amen Thompson. JJ Starling's the guy I want to mention. I think he's very good. There's a bunch of like kind of taller, scorey kind of like Cam Thomas, Jaden Hardy style like score first guards. Keontae George is one. Arterio Morris is one. JJ Starling is one. I think they all have a good shot. Keontae is the one people like the most right now. He's big. He's a big dude. He shoots a lot of tough threes. But I just really like JJ Starling is 6'4" with like a 6'9" wingspan going to Notre Dame. It's just like a fluid kind of slithery scoring type. He could shoot a little bit. Maybe like a Will Barton kind of like just guy is just probably faster than he should be. Scores tough. I think he's a late first guy. I really like him. Blake Wesley was not a guy people knew about last year, really. Malachi Branham I knew about, but he wasn't like a real threat. So
no, both those guys were late risers. So there's all, and just to put a point on, I mean, there's always guys, even for people like you that watch this stuff all the time, who are gonna pop late. It's just what it is. You can't.
Zaire Smith was a 0-star recruit. Before he was drafted. So
well, and you can watch as much as you want to, and there's always going to be somebody slip through the cracks, and
there's always going to be guys who don't like adjust to college better than they, guys who didn't play on shoe circuits or didn't play on real teams. Yeah, it's impossible to know everybody, which is why you have to watch college basketball.
I have to watch college basketball, yes. And you and I enjoy watching college basketball. So
3 more months.
We're almost there, Brian. Thanks for all the time, man. As always, if you have anything to plug, please go ahead and do that. I know there's your Patreon, which is a must-have. I am a patron of yours, but anything else you want to plug?
Other podcast appearances I do. Yeah, I'm currently writing a thing about like Duron Holmes, Kadrichi Akabundu Ahiogu, Alex Fudge. I'm writing a thing on. I haven't written for a couple of days, but I'm gonna try and get it done before it's first. I want to have something for people this month.
Well, there you go. It's that time of year. We're all getting ramped up. I've been trying to do a little bit of draft prep. I don't do it like you do, but I have to know what's going on with these guys. So I have watched a little bit of OTE recently. I watched a little bit of the guys that are coming to like big programs. Like I watched a little bit of Cason Wallace the other day because I just want to see him. So
Cason is good. I like him.
Yeah, Kentucky guards seem to work out pretty well generally. So at least unless you're the Harrison twins. They're always.
Cason is like Cason's weird because he's like honestly like his best attribute as a Kentucky guard is just like a monster, like defender. He's just a beast. He's got cool hair. Yeah, I like Cason. Cason's good. Cason's a fun player.
Well, there you go.
Wednesday. That's what I was looking for. August 31st, OTE starts playing in Spain. So
that is definitely worth watching for the Thompson brothers.
Some ACB teams and some LAB Plata teams. So,
and they're it's not only the Thompsons either. They're obviously the most prominent guys on OTE, but they have other prospects.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's see. Jazz Gortman's going to be. It's all their draft available guys. They're playing the pro teams this year. Jazz Gortman is kind of a guy. Jalen Martin, Kokiat, who is JT Thor's cousin. who probably would have been in the draft this year,
Sure.
but he was out. He got injured, was out for like 5 months, and never really practiced, so nobody ever really saw him. But yeah, the team itself is going to have Nas Cunningham is going to play for them this year. He's going to retain his college eligibility, which kind of the problem I had last year with OTE and NBA in particular. They couldn't decide because the Thompsons age-wise should have been in this class, but the NBA could not figure out if it was a high school, if it was a post-grad high school, or if it was a pro league.
Right.
Because if it was a pro league, these guys had graduated. They were born in January 2003. They should have been in the draft. But I think the NBA has come down that it is a prep. It's a post-grad prep school.
Yeah.
Because like Jeremy Fears decommitted, but he was going to go there and then go to Michigan State next year. Nas Cunningham is going to Duke after this. So they got guys who are going to play 1 year here and then play in college next year. So I think eligibility-wise, they figured it out.
It's a whole new world.
Yeah, it's just confusing. So.
But I will say if you do this has been the case for a long time, but especially as we get going moving forward, if you want a complete picture of the draft of the draft landscape, you have to watch these teams. You have to watch Ignite. You have to watch OTE.
You have to watch Ignite. Ignite's got a lot of guys this year.
But even previous years, like they've had a guy or two at every draft. The last couple, this year, what do they have? Like probably 4 or 5.
Wayne Hardy, Dyson.
Yeah.
The
year before.
Well, yeah, they've had a lottery pick their first 2 years. So,
and Scoot is going to be a top.
Scoot is a lottery pick.
That's happening.
And Leonard Miller could.
Interesting.
City,
interesting.
Yeah, City Sissoko. Maybe F.A. Abajidi. He's a little old, but I like F.A. a lot. He's a cool athlete. And then they've got.
You're guaranteed to probably have at least 3 very interesting guys and maybe more. Mm-hmm. So,
and a guy named Mojave King, who's got an incredible name.
You are the captain of weird names and weird teams. And
at one point was considered a better prospect than Josh Giddey because they're in the same.
Oh, that's I swear when I heard that name, I was like, "Who is that?" And then it just occurred.
Same like class with the Australian. And then in a few years we're gonna have Dash Daniels, Dyson's brother, who's apparently much better than he was at that age. So that should be fun.
I like Dyson. So. All right, Brian. Well, thank you for all the time, my man. Please follow Brian's work at his Patreon. Follow him on Twitter. You can see it on the screen. If you're watching on YouTube, it's at Brian J Draft. That's correct. I hope, Brian. I didn't mess that up. Mm-hmm. But check out his work. I appreciate you coming on, my man, as always. And as for everybody else, subscribe to this podcast as well. And we'll see you all next time.